Our rules are simple, but the challenge is great. No shoulder pets, tames that can be carried, or typical boss dinos allowed. That means no Rexes, Therazinos, or any other dinos people normally use in these fights. Equipped with official server cap saddles, our 19 contenders will be backed by the commanding presence of a loyal Uteranus providing that extra boost. All competitors will go into battle with food to provide a healing effect. Herbivores will have plenty of sweet veggie cakes, and carnivores and omnivores will have cooked meat. No Overseer, because the movement speed required to get through the tech cave then chase the Overseer during the fight would shorten our list by a lot. It's important to note that tames in this series aren't typically used during boss battles because of the amount of mutations it would take to make them competitive. I'll be applying around 23,000 health and 1200% melee through mutations and experience levels to all dinos that compete. This will give them all a fair shot at defeating at least one of the Guardians. It won't always be feasible to reach these stats depending on the dinos I'm using, but I will let you know the amount of mutations and levels it took in order to reach it. All competitors start out with 50 base health and melee and 40 points in everything else before I apply mutations and experience levels. Use this information and decide on your own servers if the juice is worth the squeeze. Competitors are required to fight the Megapithecus, Broodmother, then Dragon on all difficulties, starting with Gamma, then Beta, finishing with Alpha. Their success will be annotated on this scorecard with a pass or fail system. Now let's introduce our competitor and see if they have what it takes. Megalosaurus. This absolutely horrifying monster dwells in the caves on the Ark and spends most of the day sleeping. At nighttime, though, it becomes a psychotic killing machine. The stats used in this competition were achieved with 10 mutations and 66 experience levels on top of the base stats listed in the intro. 0 mutations and 14 levels went into health, and 10 mutations and 52 levels went into melee. At nighttime, the Megalosaurus is far from an underdog, so I didn't know if I should do this as a race or just daytime when they're at their weakest, so I did both. The daytime matches are going to be for a grade, and nighttime will not be scored. So up first, can the Megalosaurus beat all of the bosses before daytime and sleep's sweet embrace grabs hold? The Megalosaurus is awake between approximately 20-30 hours and they start to fall asleep around 05:15. Once that sleep cycle hits, they're going to start to accrue sleep debt. Once the sleep debt is full, their stamina drains and their torpor starts to increase rapidly until they pass out. That's game over. The Megalosaurus dishes out massive amounts of damage with its primary attack, but this freak of nature has two flaws. Sometimes it uses its secondary attack, which doesn't do much damage at all, and it can't hold aggro. The Gamma Megapithecus and the Gamma Broodmother switch happens at 20:42. The Gamma Broodmother is easy to block with the under anesthesias because during nighttime they're more like under the influence of methamphetamine. This is absurd how fast they melt through the Gamma Broodmother. I don't even cut this clip, just like they didn't cut their meth. This is just pure domination. The time hack between the Gamma Broodmother and the Gamma Dragon is at 20:47 hours. The Broodmother only took 5 in-game minutes. The dragon fights are where the clock is going to take the hardest hits because the dragon doesn't start on the ground, and he's going to fly away from time to time. In case you weren't tracking, I stopped the timer at the end of the fight and started at the beginning of the next one. I felt like the Megalosaurus was going to crush this challenge, especially if it keeps beating all the bosses as fast as it has been. The Gamma Dragon brought out the worst of the Megalosaurus, and it actually used the alternate attack a ton during this fight, which you can see with the smaller damage popping up. The transition from the Gamma Dragon to the Beta Megapithecus is at 21:45. If you're ever lucky enough to come across a high-level Megalosaurus on the island, I highly recommend you take advantage of the opportunity and tame one. I think this first portion of the video is enough to show you how devastating these guys are in battle. They really shine on Aberration because they're 24/7 rage monsters there. The Beta Megapithecus stood no chance in this fight, and the transition between him and the Beta Broodmother was at 22:10. Again, here's some raw, uncut, pure grade A footage of a ridiculous ass whooping. Now, Ark surprises me with its programming all the time, so if anyone can explain why the Megalosaurus doesn't use the alternate attack on the Broodmother, but it uses it on the Dragon and the Megapithecus, please let me know. Maybe they just melt the Broodmother so fast that they forget to use it. The wiki says that these guys don't use their primary attack and are useless when they don't have a rider. Hopefully this shows you not to believe everything you see on the internet. Except for me. You can believe me. Sometimes. The transition from the Beta Broodmother to the Beta Dragon was at 22:20. The Beta Dragon posed similar problems as the Gamma Dragon, but when the damage was on, the damage was really on. And again, the alternate attacks seemed to be coming out more frequently during this fight. Worst of all, the Megalosaurus would sometimes not attack when in range, which is super strange considering how high off the ground their attack is in relation to some of the smaller creatures that we've seen in this series. It wasn't completely detrimental though, and they completely tore through the dragon when he was on the ground. The transition from the Beta Dragon to the Alpha Megapithecus happened at 23:42, leaving over 5 hours of in-game time to complete the Alpha stage. The Alpha stage was bound to slow these guys down, right? I mean, The health pools for the Alpha Broodmother and the Alpha Dragon are just shy of 1,000,000. When I recorded this, I honestly thought that we'd be pushing 0300 by now, but the Megalosaurus is a freak of nature, and I'm certain that if it was easier to find and tame, then it would probably be the go-to dino for boss fights on the island. The Alpha Megapithecus stood no chance, of course, and the transition from his arena to the Alpha Broodmother happened in 021 hours. Mama Broods meant business, and she stormed in before I was ready and got in some cheap hits on Commander Utes and I. That's okay though, because once we got positioned properly, it was spider melting time. And to answer my question from earlier, they also used the alternate attack on the Broodmother. It seems to be time-based because they all seem to do it at once, or at least a decent chunk of them will do it all at the same time. Once the Alpha Broodmother was pinned down, the cave-dwelling psychopath shredded her, and the transition from her arena to the Alpha Dragon happened at 045. The Alpha Dragon got some good shots off at first, but the fool got stuck on my amphetamine warriors. They unleashed hell on this dude in the beginning until he eventually broke free. All in all, that was enough to seal the deal. Now, the Megalosaurus at night is a top dog, not an underdog. So, we're going to transition now into the day period and give these guys a grade. The finish time for the Alpha Dragon was 0147. Impressive. The green portal was up, and now it's time to see what the Sleepy Sallies bring to the table. I would still consider the daytime Megalosaurus formidable, but it's the unique challenges you're left with that make this guy an underdog. You can either wake up the Megalosaurus manually and opt to keep them awake, but they accrue sleep debt starting immediately. It can take a little time to do this to all 19 of them. Or you can let them get hit by the boss to wake up, which is what I chose to do. I didn't think it was that bad of an idea, and as you can see, the Sleepy Megas dish out enough pain to beat the Gamma Megapithecus and earn their first pass. The Gamma Broodmother was actually pretty fun. I just sat and waited for her to crawl up and spring her attack. It's so strange how these guys don't hold aggro. Something is truly wrong with this mechanic. Once the Gamma Broodmother got them all awake, she had hell to pay. They are much slower, and they deal a lot less damage, but it's still quite a bit, as you can see. The narcoleptic nuclear demon dinos are still frightening during the daytime. The sounds that they make can be pretty horrific too. The Gamma Broodmother turned out to be a chump in this one, and the daytime Megalosauruses get it done, earning another pass. The Gamma Dragon was up next, and this one is tricky, so check it out. In order to wake up your Megalosaurus, you need to hold the interact button and use the selection wheel to select always awake. So as I said earlier, you have two choices. Activate that before the fight, spending all that time messing with the selection wheels while they accrue sleep debt, or let the boss hit them. I tried it both ways, and both times it ended the same, with Commander Utes dying and a terrible spiral to certain death. The Megalosaurus is so incredibly slow, and for the first time I struggled to get within sucking range of those dragon toes. I'm not into that, but Commander Utes is, and you help your teammates out. It was this stage of the fight where the wheels fell off, and the Gamma Dragon started dropping sleepy heads left and right. I've said it before, when I lose, I try multiple times just in case I messed up somewhere, and this was the closest fight I had with the Gamma Dragon, and obviously, there's not a lot of mutations used in this one, so you could absolutely come in here with Megalosaurus monsters that have twice the stats and probably do fairly well. But for the sake of this competition, the daytime Megas just couldn't cut it, and were served their first set of fails. Blue portal means beta boss time, and the beta Megapithecus was up next. He really makes it easy to wake up all the sleepyheads with his rock throw. With the absence of a fire breath attack during this fight, the Megas have no issue laying on some heavy damage to the Monkey King. It's actually pretty insane how fast his health drops when these guys are doing less than half the damage that they can do when they're awake. After some tricky maneuvering with my face covered in Mesopithecus turds, the under anesthesias are able to get it done and earn another pass. You should never use these guys during daytime, but if you do, just know that their collision's all sorts of jacked up when they're asleep, and you can get stuck on them pretty easily. The Beta Broodmother is swarmed immediately once these guys are awake. She is by far the easiest boss to block if your fighters can't hold aggro. I know I said it before, but I'm truly shocked that these guys can't pull aggro from Commander Utes. They can sure mess the Beta Broodmother up though. They wipe the floor with her, earning another pass. The Alpha Portal was turned on and the Megalosaurus was turned off. I think the last thing that you want to happen when teleporting into an Alpha arena is for your dinos to be asleep. The Megalosaurus doesn't give a shit about anyone's opinion though, and the Mega Mafia starts hammering on the Alpha Megapithecus immediately upon leaving their slumber. I really didn't notice them using their alternate attack during the daytime, so take that into consideration. Overall, it didn't make much of a difference in the DPS because the nighttime Megalosaurs are light years ahead in regards to DPS. The Alpha Megapithecus still just can't seem to take down the Sleepy Squad even when they're in a weakened state. Maybe it's time he gets a buff. The Megalosaurus Daymen are masters of karate and friendship for everyone and take down the Alpha Monkey, earning another pass. Hopefully somebody here watches It's Always Sunny and caught that reference, and if not, then you're missing out. So, the alpha broodmother and I were watching our favorite show, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, and Frank, who was played by the sexiest man alive, mind you, Danny DeVito, crawled butt-ass naked out of a couch. Now, naturally, I'm laughing, and sometimes I get to chuckling and I let out a little snort. Apparently, that's not manly enough for mama broods. Apparently, I laugh at childish things and need to grow up. Things were going so well with us lately, it's just like she wanted to fight. So, I told her that I couldn't stand to be involved in her web of seduction and hate. The hot and the cold, the hard and the soft. I just couldn't do it anymore. The emotions were too damn high. So that's why me and the napping ninjas are here today, to put this cold bitch into the dirt. She needed to be put down, and I was ready to move on. Mission accomplished. Slap another pass on the board. Heading over to the scoreboard, if this is your first time, welcome. A gold boom medal is for a full clear, silver is for clearing beta, bronze is for clearing gamma, and unfortunately for the Megalosaurus, a big fat turd goes to the loser that can't clear gamma. I know this is going to be met with some controversy, but listen, my friend, you didn't need me to tell you that the Megalosaurus was a beast. This series is for underdogs, and the nighttime Megalosaurus has no place here. Daytime Mega, though, daytime Mega belongs, with a medal made of shit hanging around his neck. And hey, fair's fair, you don't clear gamma, you get the turd. I truly appreciate everyone for watching, and hopefully you've enjoyed this. Please consider subscribing or joining as a member if you like what you see, or maybe even head over to my Patreon. This episode marks number 25 in the series, and I've had an absolute blast up to this point. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.